Evening, Gabby.
Good evening, TC, and welcome all to our weekly podcast. Terry Currans, the Curran View of the Isle of Hillsborough. Mr. Terry Curran, steady away. How you doing, son?
I'm a lot better, Gabby. I'm feeling a lot better.
Good, that's good to hear. TC, we always start on the magic moments. We've got some wonderful topics of the week a little bit later in the show. And I do want to touch upon England's performances recently in the UEFA Euros qualifications that we've just qualified for Germany next summer. So well done to the boys, but more about that later. What magic moments have you sourced for us, TC, this week?
Well, obviously with the Premier League and Championship not being on,
yeah,
it's nice for us to pick goals or magic moments or whatever we want to call them this week, because it's just a Championship tour. I think there's about 3 or 4 games in Championship 1. But I mean, you put 5 up, and I've gone with one of them anyway. I would already pick one of those out, like the free kick with Chris Long.
Yes,
great worked out, and the finish. Not at any level, because I hear them all say at that level, but at any level to do it, it's fantastic.
I think when we talk about free kicks, I remember as a kid, one of the boys, in our football group, he'd got a book, and we used to look at free kicks and try them for our school team, our Sunday team. We'd start on the playgrounds at school, and I think it's fantastic. That was a tremendous bit of skill. And I do love, when someone hits a free kick and he bends it and he curls it round the wall, I think that's great. But I think that technique that they practice out on the training pitch and it works and they pull it off, I just think that's just superb, sublime.
What about the free kick I put on when he
I would like you to talk about that, TC, because it is a great little story. Goes back to Newcastle United, St James's Park, doesn't it?
Listen, I scored a few goals on free kicks.
Yeah.
When Sheffield went, 1 over bar, 2 over bar. And Jack went absolutely, he's coming on, you'll never take another free kick. Oh, okay then, Jack, forget it. We'll put somebody on it. Anyway, he had us all in the following morning. I think I've told you all about this one before.
Yeah, you tell us again, too. It's great.
And he says, right, I've had a dream, and this is how we're going to score. Right? He said, I want Mego. Either me and Bano were in front of the wall, or me and Mego. One of us, anyway. One of us two. Or both of us. And I think me and Bano and Mego was on the ball. He said, I want you two to get in front of the wall, right, in front of their wall, bend, and come running towards me. I'm going to hit it. Anyway, Mego tries it. It goes all over the place. Does it? It hits Bano, and he goes into the back. I starts laughing. He sent me off a training pitch for laughing, because when somebody starts laughing, and all other lads started laughing because they, I could stop laughing and they were all laughing. And you think to yourself, where did they come up with these free kicks? But that was a well-worked free kick, that.
But Jack used to come up with these things all the time, didn't he?
I can remember when he used to do coaching on TV. Yeah. And a younger hit him between legs.
But again, he was one of the game's characters, wasn't it, Jack Charlton? I mean, it must have been a laugh a minute up there with Sheffield
didn't know.
Wednesday.
Listen, he didn't know how funny he was at times.
Yes. Mm.
Brilliant.
Because people like him just are naturally funny, and some of the things that they come out with are just quite comical. I mean, I think that day you told us he come in with one sock up, one sock down, and
if you'd have seen him walking across the pitch, it's about 2 inches above his ankles. He's got a football sock on, right, and a normal sock on. Right, he's got his cap on. Right, he must have catched the cig off it, because there was always an old bloke there. Right, he used to say to the bloke, "Have you got a fag, mate?" A bloke could give him a cig packet, and he'd take 2 or 3 out, would Jack?
Happy days, TC. Happy days. Got to mention a magic moment for San Marino. They actually scored a goal, and it was against Denmark. So well done to San Marino. And talking of,
it wasn't Denmark. It was
Yeah, Denmark. I think Denmark beat them 2-1, didn't they? San Marino actually scored a goal.
Ukraine, weren't it?
No, I'm almost certain it
I
was
think it was
Denmark.
Ukraine because I bet Ukraine they were losing 1-0.
Couldn't have been Ukraine because Ukraine are in our group.
Are they?
Yeah, unless it was a friendly. But, watch this space. We'll have a look at that for next week, too.
I'm
But,
sure it was Ukraine.
okay.
Oh
But
no, Ukraine played Lithuania, didn't they? They've got me confused now.
I'm very sorry, TC. San Marino is a little province, isn't it, in
It's near
Italy?
Italy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Paul Smythe's goal for Northern Ireland against San Marino. I mean, we've mentioned Paul on a number of occasions, be it Orient or now for Northern Ireland, Queen's Park Rangers as well. I think that he's an absolute talent, and it was a wonderful scissor kick goal, great technique.
fantastic,
I think
absolutely fantastic.
the kid's a little magician, and as I say, we have mentioned him a number of times
You
because
have, you
Paul
have, you,
Smythe does
yeah.
create and does give us a lot of magic moments. I have put down Chris Long's goal, that free kick for Crew Alexander against Tranmere. Did
Yeah.
you see Pulisic's goal as well against Germany? What
And
a
listen,
blinding effort
oh,
that was!
listen, no Premier League, no Championship.
Mm?
Yes, we've had the internationals on, but we've had some absolutely pearls, haven't we, from the Championship too?
Oh, absolutely. And
And I mean, the conference now we see them, and some
yeah,
of the other goals are unbelievable.
absolutely too. But my magic moment this week is Michael Morrison's goal
Yeah,
for Cambridge United against Shrewsbury.
brilliant.
In the words of Andy Gray, tick a boo, son, tick a boo. I mean, he never done that for Birmingham when I watched him for Birmingham. I mean, I didn't realise he got that in his locker. It was Maradona-esque, wasn't it?
Unbelievable. Absolutely. You can't stop it though, Gabby, can you
No, you
really?
can't, no.
When you're in full flight like that.
Mm. And when you do
Great
try
goal.
and stop it,
Absolutely. I mean, I like to see goals like that.
what kind of goal takes your eye? For me, it's always got to have that skill side to it. I mean, I think shots are brilliant, and especially going in the top corner, or they go into.
I think if you catch it right, anything, a goal when it's a shot, it's unbelievable. I mean, the greatest free kick I've ever seen in my life is that Carlos,
Yeah,
what's
in
his name?
Roberto
Yeah,
Carlos
yeah,
Latournois.
Roberto Carlos, Real Madrid, from Brazil against France. But
Mm.
he scored about 3 or 4 like that,
Yeah, he did. Branco was another one, wasn't he, that
Yeah,
used to lever it for Brazil.
unbelievable. I mean, you're thinking when he's hitting it. I can remember that game. It was like yesterday.
Yeah,
I'm thinking he's never going to hit this from there.
no.
And the bend of it it was like going out and then to come in like it did. But it just shows you how much those balls do move.
I mean, when you look at things like that, there's two moments in sport. Roberto Carlos's goal, I just loved um, the face of Fabian Barthez in goal, looking at the
Oh yeah,
crowd, thinking, "What, they all jumping up and down?" Looks in the back of the net and found the ball. It's like, how did he do that? It was similar to Mike Gattin's face when Shane Warne bowled him, and he's going, "What, they all applauding for? Where's my stumps gone?" I mean, just moments of magic and magic that lives on forever because they were that good.
Oh, by the way, Ukraine did beat Malta.
Yeah, they played Malta-Ukraine, didn't they?
Yeah. Or
Because
San Marino, Denmark did beat. Yeah.
yeah, because
San Marino, yeah.
we now have got I think North Macedonia and Malta in the last two games, so we will be talking about that in the second half of the podcast too. But just do want to still indulge in the magic moments and a shot as well that hits the bar and goes in for me. That's always I look at that and go wow. But the skill when a player glides past
Past
another,
people. Yeah.
yeah, like Morrison did. I mean, that will always. I mean, Maradona when he scored that infamous goal against England, when he just coasted past players and then he just like
Messi
popped it
scored
in.
a similar goal for Barcelona,
Yes, yeah. I mean,
against, was it Real Betis?
I'm not sure, but I mean, he scored that many goals against just about
Well,
everybody that he's ever played against as Messi, and I mean, he
John
must have
Barnes
scored.
for England against Brazil.
Maracana,
You know
yeah,
when you see that when they
yeah.
get up, And they set off on those runs.
Yeah.
Unbelievable goals.
And again, another player that used to give us magic moments and scored some unbelievable goals, Matt Letizia.
Oh, I don't think anybody in England or Premier League has scored as many great goals as he has.
I mean, I remember the first time I interviewed Matt, and one of the kids said, "Ask him if he ever scored any tap-ins." And he didn't score that many tap-ins, of course, but he did half score some
Neither did he?
blockbusters. Again, the skill levels of Matt Letizia. How come he
Unbelievable.
never had 50-plus caps for England? Well, we know why, because England have always overlooked those kind of players
Look at
who've
Jack
got
Grealish
natural
again.
ability. Yeah, I know.
I mean, I didn't see it, but it's a disgrace, isn't it?
Yeah, again, we will be talking about it in the second half, but I do want to just uh, delve into our book corner in association with myfootballbooks.com. Andy always gives us a recommendation, and this week it's Me and My Big Mouth by Graham Denton. When Cloughie sounded off in TV Times, and he's written a book about Brian, old Big Mouth, old Big Head as he used to famously call himself. And yesterday, on the 17th of October 1973, it was 50 years since England drew 1-1 with Poland, and we didn't quite qualify for the World Cup in 74.
I don't think Brian Moore was happy with him, with Cloughie calling him a clown, Tomaszewski.
But let's be truthful. I mean, let's go back to that game.
He had nightmares, but that day, it was unbelievable that night, wasn't it?
I think Cloughie was absolutely right. He called him a clown, and he was, because it wasn't the fact that he made brilliant saves. The ball just hit him. I mean, I've never seen. In fact, I remember two goalkeeping performances at Wembley when I was a kid. That one, Jan Tomaszewski, and also Gary Pearce, who played in goal for Wolverhampton Wanderers when they beat Man City 2-1 in 1974, the year after.
But
Phenomenal.
that game, we had enough chances.
Yeah.
And like you said, some of those saves there was it straight at him, and you think yourself, how have they missed that?
I mean, it literally. I mean, we peppered the Polish
Tony
goal
Curran
all
missed
night.
the right chance that night.
I mean, in the game before, we'd scored 7 at Wembley, and you just
incredible. I mean, that could have been 7 that night, really, couldn't it?
Oh, it could have been 17. We had that many. We absolutely battered Poland, and then of course Norman Hunter went for a tackle, missed it, and then I think it was Godoka that scored the goal past Peter Shilton, and then Alan Clark did equalise from the penalty spot. But there's a wonderful picture on the internet of behind the goal and looking at Peter Shilton. Shilton couldn't look; he was facing the other way, and Alan Clark stuck it
I
in.
remember that.
I mean, I did an interview with Alan. It's on our Patreon site, all the W's. Patreon.com/SRBmedia. And Alan talked me through that. His first goal for England was on his debut against Czechoslovakia in the Mexico World Cup. And Don Revie, he'd said to, I think it was Les Cocker, he said, do you think Alan will score? He said, you can bet your house on Alan will score. And when he stepped up to take that penalty, it was again, do you think Alan will score? Yeah, you could bet your house on Alan to score. And he did. But Sniffer said to me, took him ages to get over that result, you know.
It took Alan ages.
Ages, yeah.
Well,
they were absolutely.
You're going to a World Cup and you miss out on it.
Yeah, you are, yeah. I mean, we as a nation, we as football fans, we're absolutely gutted. But then football players, as you say, too, they missed out on a World Cup to ply the trade at the highest level that they could. And I think in them days, international football was far better and far more entertaining, and I think far more difficult to win games of football.
Yeah, I mean, everybody. This is what players, the bonus, especially what they're going today. But even in my day, when there's a bonus, you're not going to not try to win a game.
Yeah.
Unless the game is corrupt, then I can see that. But no player goes out to play bad.
No. No, I mean, ultimately, some players do, but they don't set out to play bad. And there's a wonderful feature in the latest edition of When Saturday Comes, a magazine that I subscribe to, November 2003, issue 436, about the said game. And it starts off, it'll be a terrible thing for 6 weeks, then everybody will forget about it, claimed Alan Hardacre, Secretary of the Football League. Well, no, we're still gutted about it, Alan, 50 years on. And that's what football does. And sometimes when you don't qualify, it does make it even worse. Although with Tony Curry, I did say to Tony, you missed it. He said, well, I'd have missed out anyhow because I was having a cartilage operation. So we would have missed out on that World Cup finals. But England did. And I think in the 70s, again, in my opinion, football's all opinions, I do hear this about the golden generation with Scholes and Gerrard and Lampard, and it's been labelled at this new crop of players. For me, the golden generation was the 70s. Never have we had so much talent, and never have we wasted so much talent by inept management.
Yeah. Well, and don't forget, it's a lot easier for them to qualify nowadays than what it was back, because it would have knocked out
100%. Yeah.
one, but I mean, like that Poland game. I mean, I said Seb, you're right. It could have been 10, 12, 14. It was incredible. I mean, it was shot after shot after miss, but like nowadays, they have two teams, top teams. We know they're going to qualify because the other two teams are absolutely garbage.
Yeah, because they're all seeded these days.
Because what anybody says, they're garbage, completely garbage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at the next two matches we've got.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point? I mean, Malta and North Macedonia.
Unbelievable. Listen.
I mean, he'll still play his double pivot as well.
Yeah. Well, he might still even leave Jack on bench for them two games.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me because, although Tomaszewski was called a clown by Brian Clough, lots of fans are calling Southgate a clown for things that he's done. I still can't believe the loving that many have with Gareth Southgate, but then again, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I think they are, and I think a lot of them actually don't understand football.
Gary Lineker, they're all peeing the same pot.
But they're not
it's
going to
all
say
about
nothing.
lining the own pockets, isn't it?
Absolutely, too. So a wonderful book there, Me and My Big Mouth by Graham Denton, when Cloughie sounded off in TV times. And Cloughie, one of the most charismatic managers ever to grace a dugout and to grace a coaching field because, in the early days in particular, Brian used to do a lot of the coaching. Did he do much of the coaching when you was at Nottingham Forest, T?
No. We get one. The younger lads would get 1 day off, but the older, like Frank Clark and Larry Lloyd, would get 2 days off. He was short, sharp, and rest.
Yeah.
Rest. I mean, they all go on about feeling tired. He would get a couple of days off, but you would rest. He didn't like you. He didn't. Like a lot of players stayed behind nowadays. There's always been players stay behind and do extra work.
Yeah.
But it's free kicks and doing the skills. Cloughie didn't like you doing that,
Yeah.
Get yourself home and get rest. That's what you do. Get your legs up and have a rest. So he was a big believer in that,
He certainly was, and famously did write many columns during his years as a football manager. Actually, he retired, 29, and went into management round about the age of 30, didn't he?
Yeah. I think he did his deed around about 27.
Mm.
He tried to come back, didn't he?
Yes, he did, yeah.
29, yeah.
Yeah, almost did come back, but, truth be known, they all thought that Brian Clough wouldn't be able to come back, and he didn't. But when he did go into management, oh my days, what an indelible mark Brian Clough left. And so many books about Cloughie guys, so just check them out. But this one in particular, Me and My Big Mouth. Al Mas Grande, River Plate, Argentina's biggest club, by Mark Orton. I mean, I'm a big lover of footballers,
When you say biggest club,
Most successful, yeah.
What about the most successful one? Because that
Biggest,
not River Plate,
Boca.
Boca Juniors.
Yeah. River,
That's
River.
fanatical. Mind you, all those Argentinian games I used to watch years ago.
Yeah, he used to be on the telly. They're not so much on the telly. The French league now, apparently, he's not going to be on the telly. I don't really know what's happened there, but I do like to watch the Italian games on the telly. But I did see.
Well, because we put on women games on, you know that.
Well, I know, again, it does my Sweden, to be quite truthful. But River Plate versus Boca Juniors, Super Classico. I mean, what an atmosphere and what a rivalry those two teams have from Buenos Aires. I mean, that Boca Juniors stadium, I think, is a fantastic stadium. I mean, it amazes me how they actually don't fall out the seats onto the pitch. It really is steep, isn't it?
Yeah,
And they're
yeah.
going
And it's close to the
absolutely,
pitch and all, isn't it?
yeah, it is, and they're going absolutely bonkers. I mean, when I was a kid and we had the '78 World Cup finals, and you looked at the ticker tape and didn't
Yeah.
really know what was going on with the Argentine, and because they're in South America, you don't see that much. But in the last World Cup in Qatar, I looked at them Argentinian fans and thought, you must be the greatest in the world. And we've always seen bits and pieces from certainly the Super Classico and those two big clubs, and nothing has swayed my opinion that they're the greatest fans on the planet, Argentina.
Yeah. The, I remember when they came over and all, just after the World Cup, Adilas and Villa.
Yes.
And then Tottenham started doing it, didn't they? The ticky
Yeah, it
tape.
did, yeah.
Fantastic.
Well,
Absolutely.
the
Used to make
first,
your hair stand up back in your neck, that.
absolutely, the first game that they played at home, I'm not too sure what the debut was, but it was away from home. The first game that they played at home in August, in, what was it, '78, because it was just after the World Cup, was Aston Villa, and they got tonked 4-1 by the Villa. Dennis Mortimer told me it was arguably the greatest atmosphere that he'd ever seen. And he says to me, see if you can get a picture for us of that ticker tape and coming out onto the pitch there at White Hart Lane. Something that stayed with Dennis all his life.
I can remember that '78. I mean, it were always the ticky tape. When I said, I don't mean bad, but there were that much ticky tape on the pitch. I'm thinking to myself, how's this game going to be played?
Yeah.
Because it just kept letting it drop and drop. They are fanatics, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. It was almost as though you're going to have to use an orange ball because you won't see that tango ball. You might see the bits of black on it, but you certainly ain't going to pick up the white because it was just incredible. And that was the World Cup final. The '74 World Cup final was delayed because the corner flags wasn't in place. And Jack Taylor, it had happened to him previously, and he was very mindful of that. So when he come out on the pitch, he noticed the corner flags wasn't put up, so it was delayed, and that was delayed. I think it was Rennie van der Kerkhoff. Do you remember he had that little light plastic cast on his arm, and there was a right hoo-ha about that. But again, the game went to extra time. Argentina won it. Mario Kempes ran out a absolute national treasure. Again, another book
Is he
about.
still alive?
I believe so. Yeah, I think he still does a lot of punditry work, doesn't he?
Does he?
Yeah, I believe so. And I did see him in the World Cup doing his work for TV and radio, etc. He still looks very, very well. Again, what a
Great
player! And,
player.
and you played
Great
against him, of
player.
course, didn't you too?
Yeah. Unbelievable.
And
Unbelievable.
thirdly, too, emancipation. And I picked this book out because I just love that word, emancipation for goalposts. I think it's a great title, and it's football's role in the fall of Yugoslavia by Chris Etchingham. Yugoslavia have produced some fantastic players. I know now it's different because you've got Serbia, you've got Croatia, you've got Bosnia Herzegovina,
It's
etc.,
all broke up,
etc.
but
Yeah, he has.
technically all gifted, weren't they?
Oh, when they come as one as Yugoslavia, again, probably the. I mean, okay, Hungary didn't win the World Cup, come very close. Holland have not won the World Cup and come close in the '70s as well. But Yugoslavia were another one that you could put in that same envelope that didn't win the World Cup, come not as close as them guys, but had some fantastic players. And that Red
Always,
Star,
always
well,
the pundits and the players. Well, because back then they had ex-players as pundits and everything, didn't they? And
yeah.
they always used to talk about the technical ability of these Yugoslavs. They may have lacked a bit of the physical side of it, but technically they were brilliant.
And Uddy always says to me about Bogusevic. He says, Paul, what a player Bogusevic was. One of the greatest players that Alan ever played against. Played for Red Star and then moved over to the NASL and played for the Cosmos. What used to happen in them days is it was something to do with your 28th birthday, depending where it fell on the calendar, you couldn't be transferred to another club until you were, I think, 28, or the season that started that you were going to be 28 in. And as a consequence, lots of those Yugoslavians stayed in Yugoslavia. I mean, that's why Red Star of Belgrade was such a great side in them days. But again,
what was the other one? Red Star Belgrade and the other. What was the other one called?
well, I've always really thought of Red
No,
Star
there were two of
Belgrade
them,
as
Red
a.
Star and it'll come to me in a bit.
I mean, Dynamo Zagreb.
No. The two top teams in back then. Well, it'll come to me.
You ever think about it? Both from Yugoslavia, too.
You what, Gab?
Were
Sorry.
they both from Yugoslavia?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, have a think about it, or get young Tom. Is Tommy? Is he up? Is he awake yet?
They're in room watching football. Google on football. The Google, Talk Sport and all that type of thing. They're in there watching. I'm coming to the bedroom.
They're proper on it, aren't they? Who's Jock playing for this week, by the way? Is he still in?
They've won 6 on trot.
Yeah, they're flying, aren't they?
They're flying, absolutely flying.
And what's his
I mean,
team?
flying.
What's his team too?
Aubrey.
Aubrey.
Yeah.
So
Aubrey Town.
we'll give them a shout next week. See how Jock's getting on. Has he got over his injury? Because you did say he'd been injured recently, hadn't he?
Yeah. What did he get? He had slight knock, so he didn't play in the cup game.
Mm-hmm.
He played 7. He didn't play in that cup game. 6 league games, won 6. They scored 19 goals and conceded 3.
Wow, sounds like Manchester City. So
Yeah,
watch his
they're
space
really playing well.
and watch Aubrey. Strange but true, too. Leeds United's Ellen Road has 2 wells, some 70 feet deep below the north and west stands, together with a pumping system under the south stand. The wells were dug in order for the club to draw water should an emergency occur to regular water supplies.
You come up with some classics, you. We learn something every week.
I go to Les Scott's wonderful book, Denied Promotion by a Tree, and look for some of the nuggets that Les has found. I do email him and thank him. In fact, Les is going to be working on Jermaine Defoe's autobiography. He's going to ghostwrite it with Jermaine Defoe. Another
Right.
great player,
Yeah,
wasn't he,
absolutely
Jermaine?
brilliant. For the tiny. I mean, it was tiny. Was the Jermaine Defoe? Where you see Mamadona, they look physically strong for being, even though they're small. But he looked really tiny, didn't he? But what a great goal scorer he was, Defoe.
Again, shame really that when he actually played, there was some fantastic forwards that really were above him in the pecking order for England. But if you look at Jermaine Defoe's scoring record, I mean it stands up there with any of them. I thought he was a fantastic player and always comes across as a good kid. So let's start on our topics of the week: the international games. England. In the first game against Australia. Not too sure. I think the green people and these mouthpieces for your carbon footprint went ever so quiet when England invited Australia to come over some 10,000 miles away and play a friendly game at Wembley. Gareth did ring the changes. I must admit, I liked the Maddison and Grealish over on that left, and for me would be Bellingham and Foden on that right hand side. Okay, if you're going to play Declan Rice in there or somebody other player in there, but I do like them 4 players in our midfield with Harry Kane sitting at the top of the Christmas tree.
And to listen to the rest of this podcast, head on over to www.patreon.com/SRBmedia. Thank you.